Welcome back to Viewpoints, listeners. I'm your host, Henry Grossek. Limited discussion with David Roy, lecturer, School of Education at the University of Newcastle, New South Wales. The broad topic is, should schools put CCTV cameras in classrooms? Welcome back, David.
Thanks.
Now, one of the questions, we talked at length before the break about the potential value and, of course, the dangers with CCTV in schools, and you put that very eloquently. One of the areas that would be of concern to teachers would be, would this become a de facto performance management device? And that would need to be fairly well clarified, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, that's why we need clear guidelines. I've been in schools which had CCTV cameras around them in a new build, similar to the fact that the school you work in, Henry, has got cameras. The footage kept was stored for a week, and it would automatically delete unless it was deliberately kept into a longer storage area because of, say, for police evidence or vandalism or something. So if that was the automatic de facto happening within the cameras system, then it couldn't be used within that purpose. I think we have a right to our image. So teachers would have to, I would argue, give permission for footage to be used within their professional development, because it could be used in a positive way to show just how wonderfully excellent they are. So I think there is an ownership of images, but I do think we have to recognise that classrooms are not private places. They are public places, because there are 25 plus members of the public in that room at one time. And the argument that they are private is kind of not true, because a principal should be allowed to walk into any classroom at any time and be able to observe what is going on. So there should be nothing to hide, and if teachers are worried about what people will see going on in their classroom, I would always go, well, what is going on in the classroom that you're worried about? Because if I'm doing something that could be better in the classroom, I would love someone to see it and say, this is how it can be better. So if we take on an attitude of saying it has to be combative in our relationships with management and that hierarchy, then of course you're going to have problems. But if we take the attitude that it should be collaborative and that we should recognise the professionalism of each other, again, it comes down to leadership. It comes down to attitude. And I know I've said this elsewhere, and the data kind of speaks to this as well. We see a significant change in a school when there's a principal change. Sometimes it's for the positive, sometimes it's for the negative. It's down to leadership and the attitudes that are shared. And that then comes down to the system management and to the people, say, who lead the Victorian Education Authority or lead New South Wales Education Authority. Whoever leads that authority, and including the ministers, dictate what really happens going down the line and is passed on. So if we have the attitudes right, then it's not the technology that's the issue. The technology is just a tool, and it's up to us to ensure that the people are not acting like tools.
Absolutely, David. Now, in the body of your piece, and I know you're a great advocate for children with disabilities, you quote that children with a disability are 3 times more likely to be abused, non-verbal children 10 times more likely. So segueing that into the case for CCTV cameras in classrooms, you make that point.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we need to look at, before anything happens with this, we need to research it. I would like to see this being trialled, to see, does this help, does this support? And where I would trial it first are with teachers who would voluntary, well, I'm not sure voluntary would be the best way, because the ones who are doing the right thing won't have an issue. But I would want it trialled within schools for a specific purpose while we still have them. I would want it trialled in mainstream classrooms where there are children who are non-verbal or who have disabilities, because it would allow us as a community to watch what's going on in those classrooms. Is there inclusion? Is there actually bullying going on amongst other kids? Is there care and respect and love? Going back to that opening comment, that we want people to learn how to love, and that includes children with each other from whatever diverse background they are. So if we are going to trial this, that's where we trial it. Go to the most vulnerable in the community. Doonside Technology High in Sydney has now noted a 70% drop in bullying since they installed cameras. Yes, we will have areas that will not have filming, or you obviously wouldn't put them in changing rooms or within toilets, but you might well have them outside those areas, so that if a child says, I was being bullied in the toilets, well, the camera footage would point out exactly who was going in and out at that point. The child claimed they were bullying. So it can be used as evidence to ensure more safety for all kids. I want my children safe. I want to make sure they're going somewhere safe. I'm very happy in shopping centres that there's CCTV cameras, because if my kids go out to the shops themselves, the cinema, I know that they will be monitored and kept safe that way.
Absolutely, David. Now,
Yeah.
just moving on, I've always seen the education systems as the different sectors as all part of a whole, if you like. Some of the tertiary institutions in recent years have come, both Australia and overseas, America I think is another one, where we've had controversy about the way some students feel they've been treated or mistreated. CCTV cameras at university campuses, what's the policies there to your knowledge?
Well, again, we have increasing numbers of cameras on campuses in the land, in the grounds around, to ensure safety. We do have lectures are filmed, so everything I lecture goes on to automatically get filmed and uploaded to the students' kind of web pages that they can access the curriculum through, a thing called Blackboard. I would love my tutorials to be filmed automatically, because that would make it much easier for those students who are absent or ill. In the same
None
way
might
that,
turn up, David. I know I was a uni student.
but if they're learning, I'm quite happy.
We'd always send one to the tutorial or the lecture to take notes, and we'd rotate
it
it.
is-
Has anything changed?
Well, it is increasing the number of cameras being used. Look at the role that filming of learning has happened for Eddie Wu, the maths teacher, who is well known internationally now, and his uploading onto YouTube. There is no issue going on. No one seems to complain about that. That is a classroom being filmed, and it's filmed live. I think that's fantastic, and in our modern society, it is the way forward. There's going to be more and more distance learning for individuals, and I don't see an issue for that, so long as the material is presented in a way that's engaging. So again, all these things coming together as a whole, or we're moving forward into the 21st century, I can see only benefits so long as people's ethics match the technology that's being implemented.
And that's tied up with leadership. David, time as always has got away from us. It's fascinating chatting with you, and I want to compliment you on your public role you have in talking about important educational issues.
Oh, thanks, Henry. I think we all do that. You yourself as well.
Yes, but there are many people in the field of education across all sectors that it could be a bigger field of commentators and opinion people, I think, at times, and you certainly stand out as, I think, a great example from the tertiary sector of how we can all benefit from your public voice.
Yeah. Well, I think if I've been given a role within academia because there's a respect given rightly or wrongly to that, and if that allows any of us to be a voice for those whose voice isn't being listened to, not to take their voice, but to share their voice, I think that's what we should be doing as people. We're coming back to the conversation circle again. It's about respect and about communicating to one another.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was David Roy, lecturer in the School of Education at the University of Newcastle, New South Wales, and he's a very public commentator, and you can access him via various social media platforms. We'll take a short break, don't go away.